Hello, Big Team. Hello, friends. Welcome to Lizzie Faye Loves Books. I'm Elizabeth. And this is the third day in a row that I have tried filming this video. And hopefully now this third day will be the day that I get something that I'm happy enough with to show to you. I started out at the beginning of the week trying to film a video wrap-up of my Serious About Series challenge. And I was going to go ahead and tell you about the series on my Serious About Series list for this year. And I rattled on and on and on, and it was almost an hour. And it was also later in the evening, so it was darker, and I thought, it's too long. I need to just do it in two different videos. So yesterday, I still messed around and waited till it was dark, and it was rainy. But I thought, okay, I've got to get this done. And I still cut it in half, and it still was an hour. So, I don't know what I want to do. I read a lot of books. I read a lot of books. And I read a lot of series books. And I would love to tell you about all of them. But I just think it's too much for one video. So I'm going to try to hit the highlights. And if I get off, on a tangent or down a rabbit hole, please forgive me. I'll try to bring myself back around. I just want to try to do this with the smallest amount of editing possible. And at the same time, give you a video that would, give you some recommendations, would maybe give you my thoughts about some of the books that I read, and, not just make it about stats, although stats are fun to watch. I don't know about you. I love watching people's stats of different things, so I've got a few of those, but not over much. But I'm not even yet really prepared to tell you about all my favorite books of the year. I could probably tell you my favorite book of 2021, and I might go ahead and do that. But I think I still want to do a separate video about last year's goals and how I did on that, and the goals for 2022. Because in this video, I really just want to focus on series. I will go ahead and mention, though, that I finished a total of 342 books. On Goodreads, it says 343, but they included a DNF in that. And to me, if I didn't finish a book, that doesn't qualify for the reading challenge. And I only, this year or last year, added a DNF shelf as an exclusive shelf so that it could be on DNF and nowhere else. And so far, there's only 2 books on it. I don't know, it just kind of bothers me because they don't fit into any of the other categories, and I didn't finish them, and I hardly ever DNF a book, so I may just take those off completely. Anyway, let's see. So, I want to not make this forever. I did finish a total of 342 books. Of my totals, 217 of them were audio and 125 were print. That was one of my goals, was that I would try to have at least 100 of my books read to be in print. However, I also have to take into the consideration the fact that I read, I think, almost 40 Dr. Seuss books. So I really didn't read 100 full-length adult books. But it is what it is. Okay, so let's really just talk about the series. I started a challenge last year called Serious About Series, and it has, over the months, gotten changed to SAS. And whenever I'm watching one of the live streams from one of the ladies from the Killing Time with Cozies, they always talk about, that's on my SAS list. And invariably, someone who's new to the group will type a comment, what is SAS? And so then that gives us an opportunity to share with people that it's Serious About Series. And I was so excited when several people decided to jump on board and join this challenge. And basically, the way I structured it was, for 2021, I made a list of 21 series that I thought I could finish by the end of the year. And I said, though, when I set up the challenge, you could take that 21 and it could just be 21 books, or it could be 21 series you want to work on. You don't necessarily have to finish them. Just something in relation to books in series that you want to read. And so different people did it different ways. Some people just focused on series and they didn't worry about the number 21. I mean, that was just a number because it was 2021. So I kind of did a similar thing this year. I said, okay, if you want to keep it simple for 2022, you can just come up with a list of 22 series that you want to work on and work on those. Or if you want to have a couple of extra lists, you could, for the numbers 20, 22, you could have a list of 20, another list of 20, and a list of 2. And each of your lists are something different. So what I decided to do for 2022 is have a list of 20 series that I want to finish or catch up with, another list of 20 books that are in series that I don't plan to finish, but I want to make progress in those series, and then a list of 2 series that I want to read start to finish. Now, as I've continued to work on my list and get that ready for next year, which I haven't even posted that yet either, my list too is probably going to be more than 20 books. It may be 20 series that I want to read. Well, because then I said, okay, well, I'll try to have 20 series that I want to read at least one book from. And then I watched Rebecca, the Colorful Book Nesters video about doing Serious About Series and the spin she's putting on it. And she's doing what she calls a 2x2 challenge within reading series. And for every series that she reads from, she's going to read 2. So I thought, oh, that's a great idea. So what if I just, for my second list, I'll have a list of 20 books, but it'll be 10 series, 2 from each of those books. And I think that's what I'm going to go with, although I still can't narrow it down to 10 series. I just have so many series underway that that's just next to impossible. But here I am going off on a tangent. That's for next year. Let me just talk about 2021. So just to give you a few stats, I'm going to have to put my glasses on. And I have typed this, and then I wrote on it and changed things, and then I typed it again. And so now I don't even know what I'm looking at here. But I think this is correct, or as correct as I can get it. In the year 2021, I finished a total of 47 series. Of those 47 series, 21 of them were, actually 25 of them were series that I had started previous to 2021, but I did finish or catch up with them in the year 2021, and that was a total of 50 books for those 25 series. Now, I had a list of 21 series, actually 22 series, on my SAS list, and one of those got bumped to next year, and then because the book that I was going to read is not getting published till this year. And when I say next year, this year, y'all know, I hope you know, this is a wrap up for 2021, and we're already in 2022, obviously, but I'm still going to probably sometimes say next year when I'm really talking about this year. So, I had another 4 series that I finished that I didn't necessarily plan to, but it happened. So, 2 of the series on my original list of 22, I was going to say, you know, okay, I can't narrow this down. I did say I can't narrow this down anymore. So I've got 22 series, and my goal is to finish at least 21 of these series. One of those got bumped to December, and another one got, another book was added, and so I ended up not reading that newest book. But I did substitute another series that I didn't necessarily expect to finish, but I did, to make up my 21. So then in addition to that, I have another 4 series that I finished. So, then we have my trilogy project. I had a list of 12 YA or middle grade trilogies that I had read the first one of prior to 2021, and I wanted to read the last 2. I did not finish all 12 of those. I did finish 8, so that's a total of 16 books. And then I had another 14 series for a total of 54 books that I read start to finish in the year 2021. So, all of that together, all of the books that helped me to finish those series is 120 books. So then, let me just go ahead and finish up the stats real quick. I also started a total of 28 series, but that's not exactly true because 5 of those I don't intend to read any more of, at least not at this point. If you twisted my arm, I might continue a couple of them, but as of right now, 5 of that 28 I don't plan to continue. 17 of them I only read one of, and I do think that I will at some point continue with those series. And then 5 of them, I read more than one. I not only started the series, I read 2 in one, and 3 in another, and 5 in another, and 6 in another, actually 7, counting the novella, and then 8 in another. Now, the 6 and the 8 were both for my book club, because this year for my mystery book club, a few books got chosen that were farther down in series, and so I tried as hard as I could to read some of the earlier books in that series in order to have the backstories of the characters before reading the book club book. So that was what propelled me to get that many done. So let me just kind of hit the highlights. I'll go ahead and read through the list, and I'm probably not even going to edit anything in here. I've got a few highlight things I will show you, but I just really want to get this video up and have the least amount of editing necessary. So, Ready Player One. I read Ready Player Two, and that's a duology. Finished that earlier in the year. Brides of the West by Lori Copeland. That's actually a really good series. It's a 6-book series. I have all 6 books in these 2 bind-ups, and for this year, or when I say this year, I really mean 2021. In 2021, I listened to the last 2 on audio. It's a fun series. It's a 1880s Christian pioneer, Brides of the West, not Brides of the West, it is called Brides of the West. What am I trying to say? Mail Order Bride. That's what I'm trying to say. Mail Order Bride series, and it's really sweet, and I enjoyed all of them. So then, an Amish themed series I finished by Beverly Lewis is the Home to Hickory Hollow series. This is probably not the right order, but I've got all 5 of them now. I didn't at the time I read them. Last year, meaning 2020, I think was when I listened to the first 2 on audio. These I think were on Audible Escape. And The Fiddler is the first one. It's about a girl who is a very accomplished violinist, and she's basically living 2 lives. She, on the sly, is playing a country fiddle in country music festivals, but she's a classical violinist. She meets a young Amish man, and they strike up a friendship, so it goes on from there. But then his sister is the main character of the next book, called The Bridesmaid. And so I had read those earlier, and now I think most of these, if not all of them, are on Hoopla. So I listened to all 3 of the rest of the series this year, 2021. The Guardian is book 3. The Secret Keeper is book 4. And The Last Bride is book 5. Very much enjoyed these. I started Amish in April a few years ago with Sarah, the Bookish Knitter, mainly because I love Amish Christian fiction by Beverly Lewis, Wanda Brunstetter. It has since really blossomed into really just anything and everything Amish. Well, it always was anything and everything Amish, but so many more people now are participating in Amish in April and reading Amish Cozy Mysteries, which is fantastic. I've read several of those myself, but Beverly Lewis is who got me onto Amish fiction, and I very much enjoy her work. Now, I will go ahead and mention another series that I started in 2021. It was the very first book, and there is, I hope, going to be at least 2 more in the series to make it a trilogy, and it's by Debra Torres. I interviewed her on my channel earlier in the year, I think right at the end of April, and her series is the Willowbrook series. It actually has a little bit longer of a title than that, but The Forgotten Gift is book 1, and it's fantastic. In fact, there was a kind of a tag going around where people were looking up their highest rated book on Goodreads. Now, some people take out the books that don't have a huge amount of ratings, but unless I'm the only one who's rated it, I'm going to go ahead and count in opinions. So if you look on Goodreads, and I haven't looked at it lately, but back when that tag was going around a couple months ago, I was just curious, and I thought I would see what my highest rated book on Goodreads is that I read, and it is The Forgotten Gift by Debra Torres. Now, not a huge number of people have read it, but probably at least 100 or more, maybe not that many, I'm not sure, that have rated it. I don't even know, and I'm sorry, Deborah, if you're watching this, I apologize that I didn't look it up, but it is still rated, I think 4.5, and only almost everybody. Actually, no, it's more than that. It would have to be. Okay, I'm going to pause it and I'm going to look it up because this is making me crazy. Okay, I'm glad I looked it up because I was wrong on all counts. It has 44, oh my goodness, 45 ratings, 32 reviews. It is rated 4.89. Everyone who has read it and rated it on Goodreads has either given it a 5 or a 4 stars, and most of them 5. It is a fantastic book. I loved it so much. I was given an e-copy, an e-arc by the author to read, and then I bought my own physical copy because I wanted to have it on my shelves. I wanted to read it again. It is so good. It's that good. So let me encourage you to read that. That has probably been one of my favorite books of the year as far as anything to do with, you know, women's fiction, Amish fiction, romance, any of that. And it's only very light on the romance. It's really still, even at this stage, kind of a budding romance as far as the main characters go, but fantastic book. Okay, so let me continue. So then, I guess technically I did catch up with that series because I read the first book and that's all that's out. But I'm not counting it really. I'm counting that as a series that I started because there will be more. Okay, the Haven Maker series by Robin Jones Gunn. That is, as of right now, a 2-book series. I hope there's going to be more in that series. I was sent both of them from by the publisher, and so the second one, Being Known, is the one that I read this year. Both very good. Did I say the name of the series? The Haven Maker series, and that got me started on looking up Robin Jones Gunn books, and I have collected a few more. I've listened to some others on Hoopla, and I really enjoyed that. It's kind of a spin-off series of the Christy Miller series, and now Christy is all grown up, and it's the story of her friend group. Her and her husband Todd are not necessarily the main characters. In fact, they're not the main characters of either of these 2 books. They might, you know, if the series continues, maybe they'll have their own book as it goes. But as of right now, they're just side characters. So, you know, it's a legit spin-off of the Christy Miller series and not a sequel, you know. Okay, then the Bella Vista Chronicles. I had read 1 and 3, and I read 3 without even realizing it was connected to 1. If you've ever read either The Apple Orchard or The Lost and Found Bookshop, they're part of the Bella Vista Chronicles. So I discovered that there was a book 2 that I didn't know about called The Beekeeper's Ball. And even though I didn't love books 1 or 3, for the sake of finishing, I thought I'd go ahead and just read book 2. And it was okay. It was decent. Then there's going to be a book 4 coming out in 2022, so I probably will go ahead and continue with that. I finished the Harmony series by Philip Gulley. That's just such a fun series. I've got them down here. I had read all of these the first 5 in previous years, and so I just needed to read one more, Almost Friends. It was probably one of my least favorites of the series, but there is a spin-off series of it called Hope, or A Place Called Hope, A Town Called Hope, something like that, and I do want to read that, maybe not this year, but maybe in 2023, because I think for SAS we're going to focus on trilogies, and that's a 3-book series, the Hope series. Then I loved the last book in the Cemetery of Forgotten Books. Can't see it, but I've got the first one up here. The first book, Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafon. I have read this whole series now with Elizabeth Tyree. So over the summer, we read a chunker doorstop of a book. I can't even think of the name of it now, but it was a big one. It was book 4 in the series. I have heard, now I'm counting that series done as far as, you know, I've read the whole series, but now I've heard that since his death, there has been published a book of short stories that relate to the series. So I'm going to hope that that's more of a companion book. I will still read it, but, you know, at the time I read that 4th book, you know, that checked off that series for me, so I'm still considering it finished. I loved finishing the Miss Julia series. I don't love that it's finished, and it may not be. I've heard rumors, but as of right now, I'm caught up. And the Miss Julia series, I've got most of them here. I don't have all of the newest ones, but I listened to 6 of these on audio, and I loved every second of it. I just adore the Miss Julia series. And another series that I really, really love is a trilogy by Lisa Patton. I think this is so underrated. I found the third book, which is the one I read this year. I found this at a library book sale, and I was just drawn to it because of the title, Southern as a Second Language. And so I started, keeping my eyes out for the first two. I put them on my Audible wish list and, didn't really have plans to purchase them. And I'm glad I didn't, because then they turned up on Audible Plus whenever it switched over from Audible Escape to Audible Plus. So I listened to them then, and actually it was last December. And then I found copies of all three. This is another trilogy series that I would highly recommend, especially if you're like me and you don't like a lot of foul language, but you want a great story. These are your books right here. Whistling Dixie in a Nor'easter is just such a great book. There's oh, you just need to read it. It's so good. All of them are great, but if nothing else, try the first one and see if it's a book that's for you. And then Dearest Dorothy is a series that I also read the first one last December, and then listened to all 5 of the others this year. So I finished up the last 2 in December, Marry Everything, and If Not Now When. This is a 6-book series, Welcome to Partonville, or Dearest Dorothy. It's about an 88-year-old woman. I think she's 88 in the last book. The series does cover a few years, and it's also about a young single mom who comes to Partonville from the big city. She's a real estate developer, her and her teenage son, and they I can't even remember now why they end up coming to Partonville, but it's their story and how they meet and become friends with Dorothy, and it's really about the whole town and all the different quirky characters, and it's a delightful series, and I really did enjoy it. It is a series that I would definitely be interested in reading again at some point. And then the next one is a love-inspired suspense series. This is probably the one and only love-inspired suspense series that I have ever read in its entirety, and I was hooked after book 1. In fact, especially the fact that they put them all on Hoopla, with the exception of the book I read this year, that helped me to just zip right through them. So they are these, purple spine books that you see everywhere, and there are several different canine series out now, and I've started collecting all of them because I enjoyed this one so much. Mission to Protect by Terry Reid is the first one, if this is something you would want to pick up. The next one is Bound by Duty, and I won't tell you all of these. I'll just show you them. They have great dogs in them and handlers and everything. I'm missing a couple of them. I haven't collected the whole series, but there is an overarching mystery that is wrapped up in book 8. And then book 9, which is the one that I read this year, is not on Hoopla on audio, and so I was glad that I found this at a used bookstore. This has 2 Christmas-themed stories that take place after that mystery has wrapped up, because they do refer back to it, they mention it, but and it's set on the same military base in Texas, and both the stories very compelling and very good. I just really enjoyed the whole series. Each series has its own romance in it. They are very lightly faith-based and very action-packed, suspenseful, and I just really enjoyed it. I didn't know what to expect from this series, but I very much enjoyed it. So the stories in here are called Christmas Escape and Yuletide Target. One is by Valerie Hansen and one is by Laura Scott. And the authors who contributed to this series, several of them also contributed to the other canine series. And I've got to get around to doing a book haul of the rest of my Gainesville books that I picked up in the fall, because I picked up quite a few of these, not those, but the other canine series then. Okay, so then the next 3 are the middle grade or YA series that I finished in the year 2021. Actually, give me a second. I'm going to move some of these things down so that I don't have a big spill. Actually, I'm going to skip middle grade for just a minute, because I also, at the time I start talking about middle grade, I want to tell you about the trilogies that I finished. So let me skip on down to the Cozy Mysteries. I finished or caught up with several different Cozy Mystery series. One of them was the Granny Reed Mysteries by G.A. McKevitt. Book 3 came out, and I read it. I think book 4 is coming out in 2022. I finished the Spencer Funeral Home Niagara Cozy Mystery Series by Janice J. Richardson. I have those on ebook, and they're set in Niagara Falls in a funeral home. Very good, very compelling, and maybe not as cozy as your average cozy, but still very enjoyable. The Jamie Quinn Mysteries by Barbara Venkataraman. Those are set in Miami, and I did interview Barbara on my channel earlier in the year. And Jamie Quinn is a lawyer. She practices family law, but she invariably gets caught up in criminal cases. And then I read, of course, the latest Hannah Swenson mystery. And let me just throw this out there. If there is a Goodreads librarian who is watching this, there was a Hannah Swenson bind-up of 2 Christmas books that was issued in late 2021. And it is labeled as book 28, but it's not. It is a bind-up of like 21 and 24 or something like that. I don't know. Those are not the right numbers, but you know what I'm saying. So it should not have its own number. The book that's coming out in February of 2022 should be the next number. And it's called, I don't even know what it's called. But anyway, so that I think would be an easy fix. I'm just not a Goodreads librarian. So if there's one out there watching this video, if you could please fix that, that would be amazing. Okay, then Cat in the Stacks. So this is the first one, Murder Past Due. I binged this series a couple of years ago, and then since then, 3 more came out that I needed to read. So I did catch back up now again with The Cat in the Stacks by Miranda James. And it's a very good series. I have very much enjoyed it. It is about a it's got a male protagonist, which is also kind of rare in Cozy Mysteries. He has a giant Maine Coon cat that goes with him everywhere, and he's a librarian, and he invariably finds himself embroiled in various mysteries, which is the case of all amateur sleuths in Cozy Mysteries. Then the Writer's Apprentice series by Julia Buckley. All I own is an arc of one of the earlier ones, but I did read the latest novella. I did, but I read the latest full-length novel, the newest one, A Death of a Dark Red Rose, I believe, and then the Christmas novella, which is A Dark and Silent Night, and that was a lot of fun. It opens with the main character group playing hide and seek in the manor house where the main character author lives. Well, she's actually a side character, but the main character is her apprentice, but she lives there with her. So it was fun to see adults playing hide and seek. That was cute. Then one of my favorite series for the year, I read 8 books. I had only read the first one going into this year, and that's the Amish Candy Shop Mysteries. Now, there, of that 8, I think 2 or maybe 3 of those were shorter novellas. So I'm caught up now. There is going to be a new one in 2022 called Peanut Butter Panic, and I've got that on my list. It is a fantastic series. It's super fun. Okay, so that was all of the 21 series that were on my have to finish for 2021 for Serious About Series. The other 4 that I caught up with are a big mix of things. Let me reach down here real quick. I read the last 2 books in the Stranger World series by Jack Castle, who is a friend of mine, and I actually had a hand in helping these along because I was a copy editor of these 2 books. So, trying to find the right one. Here we go. So there are 6 books. One of them is book 0. It's a prequel. So this is book 4, Stranger Desert. And then book 5, Stranger Dream, is the final book. But the very first book, if you would like to try the series, it's called Stranger World, and it's kind of a theme park gone wrong. It is a crazy adventure. It's a fantasy series, and it's just so unique that I just really enjoyed it. So that's book 1. Book 2 is Stranger Realm. And then book 3 is Stranger Tides. And after Stranger Tides was when Stranger Origins came out. And that is the prequel. And incidentally, this came out way before I ever started copy editing for him, and he used my name as one of the very, very tiny side characters. So that's fun. So my name is in this one as a character, and then my name is in the acknowledgments of this, not that one, the very last one, as an editor. So that's pretty cool. All right, I'm going to set these back down. Okay, then I also read the latest of another cozy mystery series. It's the Christmas Tree Farm Mysteries. I think at the time that I started this Serious About Series challenge, you know, nobody even knew if there was going to be a third book in that series, but it came out later in the year, and I did listen to that in December. Then I also had a historical book that it's listed as a series, but they're really all kind of just companions. You could read any one of them at any point. But it's the Lilac Girls series by Martha Hall Kelly. I've read the Lilac Girls. It takes place in World War II. And then I have read Lost Roses, which takes place in World War One. And so this year she came out with the Sunflower Sisters, which is takes place during the Civil War. So that was my favorite of all three so far. And I am still, you know, because I read that, I'm caught up with the series. So that counts as a finished series, or at least a completed series, or caught up with series. So I did have one other one that was a middle grade. And then in addition to the three that were on my original SAS list, and then I have my 8 series that I either finished or the 8 trilogies that I finished reading. So I think I'm gonna save those, and then I had a couple of other middle grade series, 3 other middle grade series that I read in their entirety. So I think I'm gonna save those and maybe do a separate wrap up video of the middle grade books, kind of the highlights of the middle grade books that I read in 2021. And also, even though I've already mentioned some of the cozy mysteries, I will probably do a more in-depth look at the cozy mysteries that I am reading as well. Maybe. I don't know. I've already kind of talked about them. Maybe I'll wait till later in the year, because I did start some other series. So did I already mention that I started another 28 series, which total 47 books? I think I did. And the series that I started, the Amelia Peabody series by Elizabeth Peters, I read 8 of those. The Irish Village, I read 6 of those, plus a novella. And then I've already read book 7 this year, and we'll be reading book 8 as soon as it comes out, I hope. The Cackleberry Club by Laura Childs, I read the first 5 of those, or I listened to them. I've got those here, some of them here. I should have held this one up. Murder in an Irish Village is the first one of the Irish Village series, and that has just been a really good series. I have thoroughly enjoyed it. And I read 3 of the Sugar Creek Amish mysteries. Those are published by Guidepost and have various authors. And then I read 2 books in the Quilts of Love series. It's a romance series on Audible Plus. At least most of them are. And I don't have the physical copies of those, but they're going on my SAS list for next year. So I'll show you a couple of them when I do that video. And then I have 17 other series that I want to continue that I only read 1 of. Some I'm more excited about than others. There is one author that I hope to interview this year. It is Jessica Thompson, who wrote Cater's Guide to Crime. That's the name of the series. Her first book was Cater's Guide to Love and Murder, which I read and very much enjoyed. And then she came out with a Christmas-themed one that I still need to read, hopefully before I interview her. That's kind of my goal for March Mystery Madness, is to interview her and maybe a couple of other authors. And let's see what else. So anyway, I don't need to go into that. I'll do my best to type a list of all of these series that I finished. And and then I also made progress in other series that I didn't start or finish, and I have those totals. I made progress in 15 other series that I neither started nor finished in the year 2021, for a total of 27 books in those series. And some of those I enjoyed thoroughly. I read 2 books by Miss Reed, and I finally got a book read in the Patchwork Mysteries. I finished another Campers and Criminals. And in fact, that was just in December. The Mrs. Jeffrey series, the Lee Porn and Cheese series, 2 Mr. Monk books, a Flavia Deluce. So, all kinds of fun series reading for 2021, and I hope to continue it in 2022. And I do have my list ready for what I plan to read in 2022 as far as my focus list for Serious About Series, but I will share that in a separate video. This one is long enough. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it so much. Let's chat in the comments if you've read any of these or want to read any or anything you want to talk about, and I appreciate that very much. So meanwhile, I hope you're having a great day. Read a good book, and God bless you. Actually, I do want to come back and tell you one other topic that I forgot to mention. Those are the series that I started and finished in the year 2021. So I started and finished a total of 14 series. So I'll tell you about the ones that are not middle grade, and I'll save the middle grade ones for the next video. So I finished the Kebab Kitchen Mysteries. Started and finished it. I read this series with the Killing Time with Cozy's group. So I think this is really the only Cozy Mystery series that I read in its entirety, because up to this year, I have tended to just try to, like, read one here and there, but I've kind of gotten in a better mood to binge read series now going forward. I don't know. I think some series will lend itself more to that than others. I did read quite a few of the Amelia Peabody series, but I kind of got a little bit burned out on those. So it's just going to depend on the series and, how much I love it or whatever. But anyway, I did read all of these. I read them in print, not even on audio. Well, I did listen to the first one on audio, and they weren't the best series in the world. Some liked them better than others, but I enjoyed them for the most part, and I'm glad that I stuck with the series and read it. Then I read 2 different series by Adriana Trigiani, and one of them I own. It's the Big Stone Gap series. The first book is Big Stone Gap, which it's a great book. I don't think there's really any swearing. It's overall pretty clean. There's a little bit of innuendo, I suppose, but for the most part, they're just good books with good stories. The second book is Big Cherry Holler. It was my least favorite. Then the third book is Milk Glass Moon. And the fourth book I just listened to in December, it's called Home to Big Stone Gap. So that's a series that I found to be very enjoyable. The other series I read by her is a trilogy. I don't own those. It's the Valentine trilogy. And I don't even know the names of all of them. I think the first one is Brava Valentine or Very Valentine, and then Brava Valentine, and then the Supreme Macaroni Company. And again, very good series about a family of shoemakers in New York City. And I thought they were very good books. So then the next series on my list I did not love. And I've got the first book here. It is by Davis Bunn. The series is Miramar Bay, and this first book is Miramar Bay. I wanted to read this for the Fall Into Reading Challenge because I wanted to count it for the read a book with an orange cover. And then book 4 had a lot of fall leaves on the cover. So I thought, well, I'll go ahead and read 1 through 4. And I just kind of pushed myself to go ahead and get them done in order to check them off. And then I thought, well, I've gotten the 4th book done and there's only one more. So I went ahead and listened to that one the next month. And so now that I read the whole series or listened to it, it just fell a little flat for me. Some people I'm sure wouldn't have even continued to keep going, but I just kept holding out hope that at some point it was really going to grab me. It just wasn't what I was expecting, because Davis Bunn, or T. Davis Bunn, wrote some Christian books with Jeanette Oke that I loved, but these are not what I would consider Christian books. They are, they're not bad. They are relatively clean. They're just not what I was expecting. So I've heard other people that say they've read these and love them. And I think if I had gone into them knowing that it was not a Christian series and just, I didn't have that expectation in the back of my head that still kept nagging at me, you know, I would have enjoyed them more. But, you know, again, they weren't bad at all. And I might have not paid as close of attention as I continued on. I was just kind of going through the motions of getting them done, which I know a lot of people yell at me for that, but I did get the series finished, start to finish, and I'm going to let this go now because I don't need to keep it. I'm probably not ever going to read it again. Why would I? And then the next one is another series that I didn't, well, actually, no. The next series on my list I did love because it was a reread. Probably my second favorite Jeanette Oak series. It's the Seasons of the Heart, and I just listened to these on audio. They're short books. Love them just as much. These follow a boy, Joshua, from about age 14 until maybe 8 or 10 years of his life, and it's set in the early 1900s Canada, and they're just very good, Christian and great. Then the next one on my list, also enjoyed for the most part, is the Cuba Saga by Chanel Cleeton. I did do a whole video about those, so I won't go into detail here, but if you are interested in those, I hope you'll check out that video. And then the next one is a trilogy that I love the covers, and this is a Christian author. They're historical. I just didn't love them. I love the covers, but the covers don't make a good book. So I'm going to let these go. Even though these are beautiful sitting on my shelf, there's just no point in hanging on to them. It's the Tucker Mills trilogy. I think Moonlight on the Mill Pond is number 1. And they are historical, set in Massachusetts in, let me see, 1838. Then, is this number 2? No, it's number 3. Okay, so number 2 is Just Above a Whisper. And number 3, Leave a Candle Burning. Now, I did like, it was either 2 or 3 better than book 1. So book 1 didn't blow me away, but I continued because I've had these sitting on my shelves for a while, and I did want to go ahead and read them. But I'm not telling you not to read them, especially if you are a Lori Wick fan. They just didn't blow me away like I wanted them to. I think everything else that I finished, maybe middle grade, except for this one, which I didn't even know about until Pastoral June, and now I have found my own copy of the illustrated version. This is Lark Rise to Candleford by Flora Thompson. I read this abridged version of, it's a bind-up of all 3 books, but then I listened to the full series, the full-length books on audio, on Scribd, and I just enjoyed every minute of it. So good. My husband and I have watched the first season of the TV show, and we want to go back and watch some more because it was just so good. So I really want to thank Angie from Literary Labors and Summer from Cozy Reading with Quaker Cats for picking that as the group read for Pastoral June. Otherwise, I would have just missed out on a fantastic set of books. So that's all I'm going to talk about in this video. So thank you again for watching. I hope you're having a great day. Read a good book, and God bless you.